two of the heaviest hitters from Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss respectively. Could Alistair the Radio Demon beat Prince Stolas of the Ars Goetia? I feel like this is a matchup that a lot of people have brought up before over the years, and by a lot I mean the small facet of us Helliverse fans who fixate on the fighting / power aspects of the show. Pogs in chat for us fellow freaks. Even got a decent amount of comments over some of my videos asking me to cover this exact topic, which is totally understandable to see why so many people would be interested in this, because it's two fan favorite characters who have been shown to be quite strong in their own right, and this specific matchup is a bit of an interesting one to delve into because it's not completely cut and dry in the sense of, oh, Alistair just automatically wins or Stolas automatically wins, at least from my personal perspective. So to go in alphabetical order here, I'll start with Alistair's strengths.
Oh, this will be fun.
Now that Season 1 of Hazbin is concluded, I think it's safe to say we've gotten quite the good scope of what Alistair is capable of in a fighting scenario. As an Overlord, he's already much stronger than your average Sinner Demon thanks to his high ability to make deals with other Sinners in exchange for their entire souls, or just to do favors for him down the line like he did with Charlie in Episode 7, making complete jokes out of characters like Serpentius, Husk, and those Loan Shark Sinners who tried breaking into the hotel. Even when factoring other Overlords into the equation, he's on the stronger side still, gaining the title as the Radio Demon by taking down handfuls of other notable unnamed Overlords and broadcasting their trapped souls screaming across the entire Pride Ring. He had an unseen fight with Vox in the past, which ended with Vox almost losing, though we don't know exactly how this fight ended yet down to the T. Alistair still fought on equal footing with one of the more notable Overlords in Hell. Then his most notable, of course, being his fight with Adam in Season 1's finale. Yeah, he did end up losing, but he still kept someone like Adam on his toes for a decent bit of time, slamming him into the hotel sign, catching him off guard a bit with his shadow techniques, and dodging many of his close-range axe swings with ease. Perhaps if Al wasn't so prideful and decided to use Angelic Steel just like almost everyone else was doing on his side, he could have ended up severely wounding Adam the same way he got severely wounded. Alistair's base level is tricky because of all the different transformations he seems to undergo depending on the situation he's in, but his shadow tentacles and his giant version of himself seem to have the most attacking power. There's also his shadow voodoo shield thing that can cover a large building level circumference that's durable enough to keep out hundreds of regular exorcists. This was something I already stood by in my Vox video, but after Episode 5 and onward aired, there's no doubt in my mind Alistair can clear buildings and likely scale to around small town level at the very least with what we've seen so far. Speed-wise, we could probably put him around hypersonic or something. Definitely not speed of light since he couldn't dodge Adam at the end of their fight, so hypersonic or so, you know, seems fair. Durability's pretty good too. Granted, the only time Al has gotten seriously injured on screen so far is against Adam, but the fact that the direct slice from an angelic weapon wasn't enough to kill him outright means he's noticeably more durable than the average demon and probably average Overlord. The very end of the finale seemed to imply Alistair does have some kind of regeneration powers too, since he was able to reunite with the rest of the Hazbin crew towards the end of the finale song and looked totally normal again. Unless the guy somehow went to a doctor off screen, there's no other explanation I can think of other than having some kind of regen factor at play. Now, for Stolas, one thing I want to get out of the way real quick because I feel like this is going to be brought up in one way or another if it's not mentioned now. It feels like many run with the idea Stolas is objectively stronger because of that BLM charity live stream that happened, I think 3.5 years ago, where Viv gave a not super confident answer to a question about Stolas being stronger than Al.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Stolas though.
No!
But I don't know.
But she did follow up saying their powers are extremely different, so it's hard for her to say for sure. Also, the idea of Stolas being a higher ranked demon in Hell is completely irrelevant. That's another thing it seems like a small percentage of people like to roll with, is the idea that if you're higher ranked in Hell's demonic hierarchy, that automatically makes you stronger than someone lower than you. At this point, characters like Stryker showing off what he can do alone, and not even factoring others in, should have been more than enough to prove higher social status doesn't automatically equal broken strength. Either way, Stolas has been shown to be one of the most capable characters from Hell of a Boss. The only other characters that stand higher than him are probably the few of the 7 deadly sins we've met so far. As Stryker's a weird one because if that guy doesn't have angelic steel and imbued weaponry on him, then Stolas probably just hard clears him. Stolas, in terms of attacking potency, hasn't really had many things to go off of when you get right down to it. Like, his skill set and his use of his powers isn't something that really causes any kind of collateral damage to an environment where we can attempt to compare it to a large area. It's a lot of either using the environment environment around him to take someone down, or using his own innate technique to take one down in a very, for lack of a better word, clean manner. In terms of speed, these two are probably about the same. Stolas was able to dodge a few of Stryker's holy bullets, but also did get caught by the special lasso shortly after. To me, it feels very comparable to Al dodging Adam and then getting sliced at the end. Durability, though, it feels like Stolas could be a little bit better in this regard. Considering he was heavily weakened while tied up by an angelic lasso, he was able to eat multiple stab wounds from Stryker's presumably angelic knife. Only time he seemed to feel genuine pain is when Stryker got him around the neck. His legs just took it like champs. Granted, he did have to go spend some time in a hospital for his injuries by the end of this encounter, so it's a bit tricky to say who is the definitively more durable one between the two, because one of them took multiple stabbings from angelic weapons while tied up by an angelic rope, and the other took one slash from an angelic weapon, yet it was wielded by the literal leader of an exorcist army. At that point, maybe we can just call it even, I don't know. As for Stolas' demonic powers, his most notable one is his petrification through the use of his 4 eyes, which has been shown to instantly petrify demons like imps within a couple seconds, rendering them completely helpless. He's also got portal creation to travel to space and Earth, the ability to possess both living and deceased bodies in multiple quantities, and some light form of electrokinesis. The portal creation thing is similar to Adam's situation, where Stolas uses these portals simply to get from point A to point B, or for some eye candy through the vast cosmos, whether when singing or trying to impress a young Octavia. It's cool to think about the idea of Stolas using a portal to guide a meteor through it just to completely demolish someone or something, but that just hasn't been the case. The ability to have others fight for you is something Alistair and Stolas have in common with their respective powers. However, it feels like Alistair edges Stolas out with this as well, because Alistair can just conjure these shadow demons basically out of thin air, while as of right now, Stolas can only have power in numbers if there are other bodies in the area he can make use of. When it comes to these hypothetical versus scenarios I try to ignore the possibility of there being any outside interference, like other people just being in the area for Stolas to control, which again boils down to Al being allowed to summon his little shadow demons because that's kind of part of his innate technique, and Stolas' possession essentially being useless. So Stolas' biggest gambit here is just the petrification, and if it'll work on Alistair outright, or if he can, actually catch him with it. It's tough when he's only successfully used this attack one time, and it was on some no-name imp assassin. And we basically never saw that guy break out of it, and Stolas was confident enough that it would work on Stryker too. There is technically no way of proving that it wouldn't work on Alistair the same way it did on the random imp. It easily could. It just stinks because, how Stolas' powers, they just haven't really been expanded on too much yet, at least in terms of fighting relevance. Obviously, I'm self-aware enough to realize the fight scenes in both these shows are far from a priority when the crew is developing these episodes, but at the same time, I can't help but raise a bit of an eyebrow over the fact that Alistair has had more showings in a fight within 8 episodes of Hazbin Hotel than Stolas has in almost 2 full seasons of Hell of a Boss. You could argue Al is more of a main character, I guess, in the context of Hazbin than Stolas is in Hell of a Boss, but even that's giving a lot of it a benefit of the doubt here. So on paper, Alistair should be the one winning this fight off of feats alone. He's objectively shown more of what he can do than Stolas has, and proved what he can do is quite destructive. Being able to petrify Alistair is the only way I can see Stolas taking this win. The big thing Alistair would probably have to do to avoid getting petrified is use the giant barrier and kind of create that around himself like he did against the Exorcist. The likelihood of Stolas being able to break that barrier is very low in my opinion. Plus, Alistair can still use his shadow tentacles to attack outside these barriers. This was briefly shown when they were, grabbing all the angelic weapons from the injured Exorcist on the outside. At that point, Stolas' petrification would end up being most effective on Alistair's shadow demon minions. And that's assuming this petrification even has an AoE effect, because if it doesn't, then some could still do damage to him. So with all these cards I play, I think I have to give Alistair the slight edge here. Dude just has more fighting experience overall, more power showings, and realistic ways to work around Stolas' powers. It's gonna be pretty funny if before the end of Hell of a Boss Season 2, or even within the next episode, Stolas shows some absurdly broken ability that would completely negate Alistair in a fight. I'm looking forward to seeing people say how this video aged like milk if that does happen. Let me know in the comments below if there's any other Versus style matchups you guys would like to see for future videos, and if you agree or disagree with the arguments I presented here today and why. I would love to know your thoughts. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe for more content like this in the future. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.